Okay, so hello everybody on YouTube, hello everybody here. Thank you for coming for our probably biggest event that we had so far. Today we are going to talk about MySQL and Helidon, and we have two speakers this time. Daniel, living in Hamilton, and Lukáš, coming from Oracle, and probably you are guys going to introduce yourself, so the floor is yours.
Okay, so probably me first. Again, hello everyone, my name is Lukáš Maruniak, and I'm gonna present today's talk, which is Discover the MySQL Document Store. The name of my colleague, and who is actually author of this presentation and most of the data, it's Frederick Descamps. He couldn't come this time, but I encourage you to go to the other event, which will take place in Prague, and will be in the end of October, where he will be present. So if you wanna be more knowledgeable about MySQL, definitely visit. And speaking of that, I can move to the presentation. So if you want to know more about us, the first link is to the blog about Fred. He got a lot of topics which covers MySQL or database kind of stuff, knowledge in general. Very good stuff. Definitely encourage you to visit that. And I didn't come with nothing better than LinkedIn profile, but hopefully I'll come also with some blog posts coming soon. So Fred is actually like MySQL evangelist. Very deep knowledge about like database styles like indexing, performance, etc. And he's like actually Belgium based. I consider myself more like Java developer with broad knowledge about DevOps frameworks like Spring, or even Helidon and Micronaut. And also I love DevOps, or everything including DevOps stuff. So if you wanna make some small talk regarding whether it's OCI or AWS, I'm here for you. And I love sports, I love traveling, so we can talk also about this stuff. Yes, so actually, step right to the presentation. So what we'll be talking about today is MySQL Document Store. Have anybody like heard about this? Have you been Daniel, Martin? Have you guys used it before somehow? Like in which kind of like way did you use it? For some work project or some?
We use it in both services.
Wow, that's cool. Well, so what's MySQL Document Store? So first of all, it combines like the possibilities of NoSQL data and SQL data, like structured data and data schemaless. Also, so what does it mean with schemaless? So you have probably come to other schemaless database, for example MongoDB, and you know by that somehow when you are doing some work-related project, the data could be like unstructured. So for this, it's good to have like some system where you can store it without the constraints which comes with schemas. So you don't have to worry about normalization, foreign keys, data types, etc. With that comes very quick initial development. So you just you come with the data, store it in database, and then you can actually query those data and work with that without any more knowledge about what's that about. So it's flexible data structure such as embedded arrays, objects, etc. You don't have to worry about ORM or like object relation mapping. You can use the tools embedded in the document store, and it's about JSON, more like front-end developers friendly way. So all like I would say also like backend developers are very familiar with JSON, and it's kind of like standard these days. Like the format which in which the data are transformed. So yeah, and so how DBA see the data? So if you have like database admin on one side, he practically deals with the tables or SQL code which defines the constraints, the count database, etc. And developers come more often, if it's not like full stack developer, come more with JSON. And also not to forget, it's like most of the time you need both like unstructured data, or you come with enterprise system with unstructured data and structured data, and then you have to like spin up like probably two kind of systems, like whether it's database or some NoSQL database. And if you have like unstructured data, then you have to process those data, so you can do analytics with that. And basically, what you do is ETL, like extract, transform, load. So you have another process which it's kind of on top of all of that, and you have to deal with a lot of like infrastructure setup, which first like loads the data, transforms, and put it in structured data, so the analytic servers can work with that. And with so how to get rid of that? How to make our lives better? So you could probably come up with, maybe there could be a system in which you could store both like unstructured data and structured data. And this is where actually MySQL Document Store comes in. So yes, where you don't even have to worry about SQL if you don't want to, right? You just can use like plain, actually like JavaScript, which I will talk about later. So basically, you could have like one system, whether it's hosted on cloud or in your own like let's say in your own like resources. You could have it under one server. So what does MySQL Document Store like provides? What are the benefits? It's like flexible JSON document store schema. There is no SQL required, but in the enterprise system I would recommend to use it, because I would say like maybe like 99% time it's necessary. Logically no need to define all possible attributes. It uses new XDEF API, which is kind of like CRUD operations upon MySQL or upon InnoDB engine. Also can leverage generated column to extract JSON values. Documents can be more or less like 1 GB. Here we have to know or be aware of that column or document is actually one row of a table. So this could be as big as 1 GB. So that's pretty impressive to me. Also allows use of modern programming styles, as I talked before. Like we have like possibility to use CRUD operation, and we can use it directly from MySQL like shell or MySQL via MySQL connectors to other programming languages. You don't have to worry about next layers. So this kind of also simplifies the whole process for particular projects. Not for everyone, but for particular projects is very good. And not to mention, like, also works with relation tables, and this is all built upon like proven InnoDB like engine. Like all the stuff you used before are there. You just have the possibility to use like the operations for unstructured data. So that's cool. Yeah, like regarding the notions about how to approach those new kind of concepts, we must be aware of that it's still a database, and we have to like distinguish what is more related to unstructured data and what's more related to structured data. And for unstructured data in Document Store, we got schema, which is basically like database. When I compare it to SQL notions, is more like when we talk about schema, it's actually database. When we talk about table, it's collection, and when we talk about row in table, a record, it's document. So we will see, if I will have time to show the examples, we will use these notions. And tables in Document Store have like 3 columns only, which is ID, which is basically computed by importing or creating the data. Doc, which is actually the JSON document itself, which could be, as I said, like 1 GB big, and JSON schema. When talking about unstructured data, we got also the options to kind of use also like some constraints, and there comes like JSON schema, where we want to like have some possibility to restrain some kind of like data. Also, it's now possible to use it with modern programming languages with the help of connectors. There are connectors for Java, for PHP, for all the languages you see there, and I think there will be more to come. Definitely, there is some late work on Java connector, which dealt with recent bugs, so it will be better and better with time. It's still kind of new. So how to use it? How to do the installation and setup process? It's kind of easy. You just have to use it like almost the same way you used like the development for your usual MySQL. So just use install MySQL 8.0 and newer, MySQL shell, and connector for your programming language to use it in your programs, right? So whether it's for Java, PHP, Python, Node.js, C++, etc. Not forget to the new like protocol. XDEF API works on 330.060 protocol comparing to MySQL standard protocol 3306. Also, if you are users of OCI, I don't think many of you are, but if you are, here is second. Then you can use also like OCI HeatWave cluster, which is for the time being, it's the only cloud service which offers XDEF API possibilities as a document store. So if you want to use it in cloud, OCI is the only option. So how to use it? How to use it in practice in your program? We had or I did like example with like maybe you heard it's restaurants collection. It's kind of like usual collection when you start with MongoDB, which is like a list of a lot of restaurants there. I guess the basic example is like 3,700 something. And for our example, whether you have it all already imported or you just download it, you just use this JSON and import it with. This is actually MySQL. What do you see here? This is actually MySQL shell console, and you use it. You use the import very simply. You just use the import JSON from util package, where you put like the path to JSON file, and also put the configuration there, which actually automatically creates the ID column. And as you see here, it's pretty quick. I also tried it on my local instance, and like the 25,000 documents did it under 1 second, which is pretty impressive to me also. Yeah, so it's that easy. Also, what you can see, this is actually from console, so it's not just like copy paste, but I also tried and it works. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. Also, if you are using Visual Studio, there is already plugin for that, for MySQL shell console, and it comes with handy tools, I would say. You could, I tried it myself, and you can also connect directly to MySQL HeatWave cluster and do the imports there, run the commands from Visual Code, stuff like that. It's very handy. So how to actually make queries with MySQL Document Store? Keep in mind that you can actually switch in MySQL shell between two modes, between SQL and JS. So you can actually use plain JavaScript there, or plain functions written in JavaScript for MySQL. So this restaurants find actually returns all the data we have in restaurants database. So it's very different from SQL commands, right? And yeah, I would probably also show it here. I don't know whether you see it. So I already imported the data. So yeah, so it has like 3,000 something documents in 1/100 of second. So it's very cool, and you can. I got some examples here, but I want to show it actually in the terminal. So now I have the data here. So I wanna probably limit only for 2 records. Yeah. So this is like limit equals to kind of equivalent in SQL. Also, I can define which fields I wanna return. Yeah. So probably I wanna return name and cuisine. Yeah. Yeah, so
Is it the same as select job from restaurants?
yes,
Okay.
exactly, with very close, yeah. Then you probably want to filter it on some data. So you can do that also pretty easily in the file. Wait, yes. Close. I don't know whether there should be some check using also. I guess I'm not sure whether it's like this. Okay. Let me see. Check. Ah, yeah. I see. And it's like this. Empty. Okay, there is no check. Okay, Coliba. Yeah, and you can use also other examples. I wanna maybe also also see this. So the syntax is pretty, I would say, self-explanatory. It's not that hard to get grasp on it and use it in like everyday life, I would say. So you can use. So yeah, I think it's called. Yeah, okay, but this is of course. Yeah. Maybe you can read more records there. So you see, it's probably. I kind of get a grasp on the syntax pretty soon. So even comparing to MongoDB, as you see down there, I would say the document store is more user friendly. It's just probably my opinion, but I decided to. I also have this for MongoDB and the same. Okay, also the same query looks like this. It's similar, but you still have to define more like kind of expressions or filters in. I wouldn't say like that friendly way, but it's up to you to decide. Okay, moving on. Then how to connect, or how you use those queries in your programs, whether it's Java or PHP, C++. So you use the connector, right? So actually, the process is very straightforward. You obtain session from the database, and then you work upon that session. So as we talked before, you got schema for database, you got collection for table, and you got document for like record, right? So you first get the connections to database or to database server. Then you actually access the database, which is by default it's called doc store, but you can define your own. Then you connect to the collection or the table. Like the restaurants is basically one table. It's one table with many documents, and you work upon those records, which I'll show later how to do like advanced stuff with those records, which are JSON based files, right? And then you just use the connector like API to use it normally. Like you see, it's collection find, and this search string is what I used before, and you can use it in your programs. So these are basically like CRUD operations, like create, read, update, delete, right? Same for Java. As you see, like you first obtain session from the database server, then you access the database. Upon the database, you receive like the table or the collection for being correct with the terms, and then you actually perform like the operations there. There is an example which I won't show because I didn't have time to look through it, but I can provide the code if you are keen to know that. Yeah, so outside of find or read operations, you have also like remove for delete and add for add some documents. Yeah, also like modify, which is basically like put operation in HTTP. So you can see like I put what I want to update, bind the parameter with the actual value, set the value, and when I wanna return, I just set like upon what parameter, it should be sorted and the limit. Very similar to the other example. Delete of the document the same. Remove, bind the parameter, and sort the results. Okay, so what are the operations and document store objects which you have, which you can access in shell or in your, I'm not sure whether in connectors, but definitely in MySQL shell. So you have like common database object which has get session, schema, name, and existing database values. Pretty self-explanatory, and then you get like schema for database, collection for the table, and table for the records. And you can play with those inside MySQL shell. Like basically, we would execute SQL commands. You execute like JavaScript functions in this syntax. If you wanna know more about XDev API, it's in, I would say it's in active development. Then you can visit pages there. I was looking through it, and I would say there is still like some space for improvements, some functions which are I missed, but hopefully they will come soon. And okay, talking next about the features or the properties of MySQL Document Store. As I said, it's built upon existing, like I would say, InnoDB engine. So it comes with all the benefits which you are using basically all the time. So it's full ACID, like ACID.
InnoDB is not ACID. It's not serializable. It supports read committed, and the other one from those basic formats, but
really
it's not fully serializable. I'm not sure if it's
so it's read uncommitted, read committed.
Read uncommitted. That doesn't make sense. But basically, the basic distinction from 17s doesn't make sense here. But because it's probably concurrent version. What's the acronym for it? Yeah, whatever. But it can keep multiple versions while the transactions are ongoing. But I haven't looked into this for a few years. But
you might be
in the past, it probably supported snapshot style consistency, but not fully serializable.
Yeah. Okay. You might be true there. I'm not like deep dive knowledge. I don't have like deep dive knowledge in SQL. That would be probably a question to Fred. So I cannot answer about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but no real database supports fully serializable because it's just impractically slow.
Yeah. Okay. But it's upon, I would say, like programmer to do it right in your programming language or your
just hope and.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the update. So yeah, you could use like the, okay, Fred omitted the serializable, so yeah, probably true. Repeatable read committed, and also do this, I would say snapshot synchronization. I'm not sure.
Well, sometimes they call it one way, but it's not the academic definition of that.
Okay. Yeah. So there is also example of transaction. So you see in this example, I didn't do it myself, so I just presented it this way. So you see in the example that we start the transaction with the kind of JavaScript syntax where we add new record, but then on the other command we roll back the transaction. You can see that it's not there anymore. Yeah, like the Rena is missing. So that's just an example of the transaction support in MySQL Document Store. So yeah, we have like doc store, CRUD, ACID. And so what makes Document Store unique? I would say it makes unique already that it supports NoSQL and SQL data in one system, but there is also some very cool stuff, and this is like maybe just to keep in mind these questions, like how you do this in MongoDB, like list the best restaurant. We had this list of restaurants, right? We didn't go through parameters, but there is like for each restaurant there was a grade, and there was also like score. And how would you do it in MongoDB to list the for each cuisine, for each type of cuisine, like list the best one and limit it for 10. Actually, when I asked Fred, he said, and I might confirm that it's not possible in MongoDB, but it's possible in Doc-Store. And actually, you can see the example here. Yeah, we could take another like maybe 10 or 15 minutes to go through this example. Actually, I did prepare this. It will be more. Do I have it open somewhere? I should. Yeah.
Looks like SQL XML. A lot.
But it's not. It's really when you look more deeper to it, like it's kind of get easily to be understood. But I'm not sure whether I don't have it here. Oh, sorry. Okay. So I'll go. Yeah. So first, I would start with this common table expression, which like select. So basically, you have to keep in mind this is one column which we are working upon, and we are accessing the values of the column. So this is like doc column, and we have JSON there, but we can operate directly on the JSON, right? So what Fred did and is like first you like extract the scores, the max scores for each cuisine, and then you like go through it, use the window function, which basically put a number to column in the order which is done, and then you select the results from this common table expression or this like partial expression, and put it inside a table or put it outside as a table. You might also there are also like functions to format it directly to JSON, which are shown. I'm not sure. Yeah, which should be shown later, but I come to that. Yeah. So basically, what you can do, you have like you can like use like neat code, like very simple code to, as I showed before, to access the data. But when you want to do something more complex with the data, then you can use like plain SQL and access those JSON data. It's up to you. So yeah, this is it. Like you can write clean and neat code and use it in your program, or when it's necessary and construct something from the data itself, then you can use like complex SQL, but it's up to you. Yeah.
Do you know if the query analyzer is smart enough to not sort all the records and then just cut out the first 10 records?
Again?
Because in this example, this is the top key problem, and you're sorting basically the query. If you were to execute it in a naive fashion, you would sort all those 1 million records, and then just and sorting 1 million rows takes a while,
right? And
then you would cut out the first 10. So there might be strategies to just not sort everything.
I actually the command does it like you said, like it sorts, but I'm not sure how it works underneath. Whether it has some like optimizers to actually go through the query and like cut the data in some chunks and then put it outside. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But when I tried it, okay, this wasn't like million rows. This was like 3,000 rows, but it was very. I would say like it took under 1 second definitely. It was like in milliseconds. It was pretty easy. So pretty quick. Sorry, not easy, pretty quick. And I believe also for the like like for databases or for the records which could be like million to millions. I think still you would come to good times, like you know.
Okay.
But I haven't tried it actually. I might be wrong here, but
yeah,
my impression.
Just wondering because this is some example. Some NoSQL databases show how because this common top K problem.
Yeah.
They show that we are still very smart. We can do it in this way.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you've.
No, I haven't tried, but I'm also like very interested in that, how the performance goes. But so far, I had good experience with those executions. And not to forget, it's all under one session. So you do the JavaScript syntax commands and SQL syntax commands under one session. So here is what I said. Right. This is like only the excerpt of that query, like one part of the query. I'm not sure how I'm at with time, but you see these are also like the functions from MySQL, like JSON table, which actually takes like the document, the row, and access the data within with the grades, score, and put it as columns in the resulting table. So you can access like the data and format it with those functions. And there are more. Like it's very cool for me when I tried. And this is what I was trying to say before, that you can format it not as a table but as JSON object and put it outside, like result for the for the middleware. And this is like the challenge which I told before, like the top list, top 10 restaurants for every cuisine. This is the resulting query. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why my IntelliJ idea won't start. I had it there. What we could do next is also like put some constraints for the JSON data. We can also like define the schema, the JSON schema for unstructured data when we want, and it would be restricted. There are some examples there. I would say, the best Belgian Italian junk food in the world. So we can put max length. I'm not sure about all other constraints, so I just saw this, but it should be probably one-to-one with basically SQL constraints also. Best practice. Yes, use it like and also we can use it by default when we're creating the table with JSON schema. Another example with validation. I don't want to go through it. So here is like just the result when we have the constraints and we want to add some data. So the constraints are being validated. So you see there you can not like add string to number, and also what was there? Yeah, just that. Okay, coming next, outside of JSON schema, we can also leverage the possibility of MySQL HeatWave cluster. For that, there is a separate blog post of thread I would recommend if you are if you want to know more about this, and you can actually speed up the process. There are some constraints. For example, like the data couldn't be not more like it's not 1 GB, but now it's like 16 kilobytes for the document. If you wanna use it as in HeatWave cluster for the I would say like big performance gain. And the other constraint is that you have to change the data type for ID, as HeatWave cluster with parallel loading cannot process this with var binary type of data. So yeah, this is just an example how to alter the data to use it and leverage the possibility to load like a lot of data in your cluster. And actually you do it with sys HeatWave load function. And here are also some examples how what are the timings. So for example, like 2 million documents, the speed up is quite big, yeah, like almost 10 times. But it comes with some constraints, right? If you have like data which like the JSON documents are bigger than 16 kilobytes, you cannot use it this time. I'm not sure that there were some improvements there, but so far I know that, yeah, this is the constraint. And also the doc store is compatible with all the MySQL architectures, so replicas, works, etc. Yeah, so if I choose to use document store, what I gain? Like I got like relational database management system, which comes with data integrity, ACID complaint, transaction SQL, and also like the NoSQL possibilities, like to use schemaless data as JSON, etc. Of course, flexible data structure. So yeah, if I wanna add new column or new property to the JSON, yeah, just add it. You don't have to worry about corrupting something. So yeah, basically schemaless and structured data under one hood in MySQL. And with that, I will conclude my talk. If you want to know more about MySQL, maybe third time or fourth time, I recommend to reach to Fred to look to his blog post. He got many good topics there, and he's very knowledgeable in this area. Also reach for MySQL Slack channels, and you can join us. It's public. So. Questions? Yes.
Sorry. So I've seen that there were some query syntax that were XPath queries.
Yes.
But you mentioned the JavaScript in the talk
yeah.
a couple of times. So can you actually execute JavaScript in some engine?
Well, actually, this is sorry, I'm trying to get there.
You can on Oracle do it.
No, this is not it. So this is basically JavaScript, and you can use it also in the shell.
But the shell is executed client side, isn't it?
No. Well, shell, like, yeah, it's like client for the doc store,
yeah,
right?
But you cannot, for example, as you presented those generated columns, you cannot execute.
I'm not sure about MySQL. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Yeah, I always execute it in MySQL shell as the CRUD operations, but because what I'm thinking, I use also Oracle systems, like Oracle databases, and there is definitely an option to execute JavaScript in Oracle database.
There's a Raffle engine inside, the one from Guardian.
Yes, so you can do that already in Oracle database. I'm not sure about MySQL. I haven't tried. If I say yes, and if I say no, I would lie because I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm not aware of that. I'm aware of Oracle, but I'm not aware of MySQL actually. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes.
Is there any interoperability with the relational database, like
Oh.
map these documents to some table like quickly? Do you need to like extract, query the document database, document store, get it out, and then load into the relational?
Actually, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure whether this is answer to.
That's one example when they are doing partitioning. I think that's the one when you're actually doing that, right?
Yes, I mean,
They are doing temporary table out of it. So.
you can use SQL to get the data, do something with that, and use like XDev API to also get the data, and then it's up to you, right, in your program to kind of like program it or use it both ways.
Yeah, so
Because you get program and you get like session MySQL X session, which connects to 33060 protocol, and then you use the API of MySQL X, right?
You use protocol first. It's different protocol, I think.
Okay.
It's some new kind of protocol there.
Yeah.
I run into those protocol first in Helidon, so I know why they're there.
And then you can use the operations as I showed, right? You can use the big SQL queries, or you can use the CRUD operations, which kind of like resemble JavaScript functionality. But you can also have under the same program another connection, another session, which is MySQL solely session, and you can use like all the tools you know, right? You can use like ORM tools, Hibernate, whatever. Actually, yeah. And then it's up to you how you combine those. Not sure.
And have you had a chance to compare this, for example, to PostgreSQL? Because PostgreSQL has something very similar. I think that it cannot validate the schemas, but except from that, most of that seemed similar.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't tried. I only tried with MySQL, right? And I tried some JavaScript execution upon Oracle, but outside of that, not. With Postgres, solely plain SQL.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, Lukáš. Now we are going to take 20-minute pause. There is food in A321, so please help yourselves, and we will be back at 19:05 with Daniel and Helidon 4.
Hey guys, we have heard about great new API for MySQL because we are Java user group here in Brno, right? So we will talk about its great new connector, the 9.0.0, which has this new XDev API, and we will use it in the short demo at the end. But we will use it with Helidon. That's another great open source, completely open source product coming from Oracle. So I will introduce it here now so we can make sense from it in the demo what we are actually using. So this is the Helidon introduction. I am Daniel Katz. I work on the Helidon directly. You can find me on various social networks as usual. It's the similar handle all the time. So feel free to DM me with any questions after the event. What's my agenda? I will do Helidon introduction for those who doesn't know it. How many people knows about Helidon here? Just the number for my boss. Martin knows it. I know he knows it. So it's 3 of you. 4. Great. I got 4. So for the rest of you, I will introduce Helidon. Then we will take a look at what we are doing in Helidon. Typically in web server, we are trying to optimize concurrency because that's the thing what most of the servers are doing. Then we will take a look at the latest version of Helidon, and that's the number 4, which is completely virtual thread, has completely virtual thread web server. And at the end, we will take a look at the Achilles heel of the virtual threads, and that's the pinning. And so with that, we will end our Helidon introduction. So what is Helidon? Helidon is a microservice framework. To describe it the best, our main competitor is Spring Boot, of course Quarkus also, so I have to mention it, or Micronaut or Dropwizard, all the similar things. Every has something else. We are a web server built nice to play with Kubernetes. That's why we can say we are a microservice framework, right? We are completely open source, even though we are backed by Oracle. The Helidon is completely open source. You can find everything on GitHub, all our source codes. And unlike Spring Boot, that's the main difference. We are trying to keep our dependencies, third-party dependencies, as low as possible. Because in corporate environments, this is usually a problem to get some, approvals for third-party dependencies. Always a pain. We know that because we are from Oracle, so that's we are doing Helidon in this way. That when you are using it in corporate environment, you don't have to download half of the universe just to do the hello world like with Spring Boot, right? You can choose your path with the right flavor of Helidon. We have 2 flavors. We have Helidon SE. Helidon SE is a micro framework. There is no magic. There is no injection. It's just pure performance, which you can tune in because you have all the knobs with builders and lambdas, APIs. So you do everything yourself, but you have complete control. No magic hidden anywhere. And then we have Helidon MP. That's the microprofile implementation. We have dependency injection. We have full CDI, we have JAX-RS, our JAX-RS runtime is Jersey, which is, by complete coincidence, very same team, so we are also responsible for the Jersey development. So our JAX-RS runtime is the Jersey. All our APIs are Jakarta. Helidon is fully Jakartified since version 3. It's completely annotation driven and it's very easy to use. It's more targeted for people who want to concentrate on their business coding and they don't want to really, tuning all the knobs around to make something slightly faster. Here is a comparison, which is again formatted badly, like all the time. So this is Helidon SE, this is Helidon MP. You can see on the left side, you can see Helidon SE. This is the builder API. Here I'm doing HTTP get hello world. So when you call this endpoint, you will get hello world, obviously. On the right side, you can see Helidon MP. There is very classical JAX-RS. very same thing, does the same thing. With JUGs you can just take this from your WebLogic application and just, you know, grab it and use it in Helidon. It will work the same way. You just need to JUG-artify it because WebLogic is not JUG-artified yet. Small secret here. How does it work inside? The Helidon SE is actually kind of engine of Helidon MP. So under the hoods of Helidon MP, there is Helidon SE, and all the nice magic is done on top of the Helidon SE. So Helidon MP is run by Helidon SE behind the hoods, with all nice magic around it. We have 3 default types of packaging. Of course, you can package it yourself. You can create fat jars if you want, but we don't like them because we are fully JPMS compatible. Every module in Helidon is actually a JPMS module. This is very practical. The first one, very simple one, is thin executable jar we are doing by default with every example you can generate from our starter. With that, you create a very small business jar which has only your business code, nothing else, and everything else is in libs directory. So if you did some C program ever before, you have this lib folder with all the dependencies. It's very same. This is very practical for your Docker images because it allows you to do very nice layering. You can actually create layers from your dependencies. You can make extra layer from your business code. And if you only change your business code and don't change any dependencies, you will be pushing to the remote Docker repository only the layer which you have changed, which will be very small because usually the libraries are the big ones, right? The next option you have is creating a JLink image. This is possible because we are fully JPMS compatible, so all our modules are actually JPMS modules. So the tree shaking actually works. When you create a JLink image with Helidon up, you don't need JDK anymore, obviously. You will run it as executable with the parts of the JDK inside of it. So we will just run it, and you will see some size reduction and even startup reduction with class data sharing and stuff like that. I did some measurement like a year ago, so just take those numbers with some reserve because today it would be even better possibly. And with some example application, we had some example repo. I did 74% size reduction, which was from 335 megs of JDK plus 4 megs of some application with dependencies. I have created JLink image which had 88 megs overall. So you get 74%. You can size reduction. You can get even further and use Graal VM native image. We are fully compatible. Even our repackaged Weld from our friends from Red Hat, we did some tweaks on it, so it works with native image. So even Helidon MP application can be compiled into the native image, and you can get even better size reduction, 88% on my old example. Back then it was 335 megs plus 4 megs application again, and I got image size of 41 megs, so that's pretty cool. And you don't have to have anything else in your Docker image. You don't need to, install the JDK and stuff like that. You already have it because your binary contains everything. And the tree shaking is much more effective, but you lose the possibilities with reflections and stuff like that. So this is some nice options you have with packaging. With again, we don't really like the fat jars because then we lose the JPMS stuff, because when you package everything together, nobody knows which module info relates to what, right? Is there any Spring user here? And so we are usually not using fat jars, right? We are using those layered jars they have, but they have special class loader for it, so there are some different issues with that. So we like the thin jars the most. And what we do in Helidon, like in all the servers, we are coping with some heavy concurrency. That's what you have to work with. We are doing it for our users, so they have good head start. So typically, web server is a heavily concurrent environment. Users needs to be able to call some other systems, but they have to be able to respond really fast, consume as much as less memory than is possible, and they are trying to save the CPU cycles as much as is possible. So we are trying to do that for our users, so they can save the money like this. Why they need it? Because it's a cloud age, right? So your managers are actually getting the bill from your cloud provider, and they exactly know how good programmer you are, and which technical decisions you made with all the frameworks and stuff like that, because they having this bill with a lot of dollars on it if you don't treat your resources carefully. So Helidon is trying to give you great head starts. So servers in general are dealing with this very heavy concurrency. How it's have been for years, like 23 years in Java lately. We have this great API for using threads in Java, but those threads have been mapped one-to-one to the kernel threads. So nothing really fancy with when you have been starting the thread in Java, you have been actually doing a system call and creating new physical thread. This is a very, very expensive operation. It takes time. Your new physical thread needs megabytes of memory, and most importantly, when you need to block on this thread, the CPU needs to do some context switching. Move around all the registers and context and load on the CPU some other task which needs to be done, some other thread from the operating system, and it's all scheduled by operating system scheduler, right? So this context switching gets really expensive because all that context needs to be moved around, because operating system scheduler obviously doesn't know the context of your Java application and what needs to be where, when. So it's moving everything everywhere. So the context switching, when you are blocking the physical thread, is very expensive. You have to moving a lot of stuff around. And more physical threads you have, the more expensive it gets, because there is a lot of stuff moving around, right? What we have been doing about that, we have been pooling the threads, obviously, because you can save all that problems with starting the physical threads by keeping them in some pool, and when you don't use them, and then just borrow them and use them when they are needed. We have been thread pooling for 20 years. That's how it's been done in WebLogic, in WebSphere, in JBoss, right? It's a pretty common thing. Other thing, what we could do about it was avoiding the blocking the thread, thus avoid the expensive context switches. So we have been trying to keep one thread really busy rather than multiple thread baiting. And if the thread is busy, it will be loaded on your CPU core and won't be shuffled around, and you will save resources. How we have been doing that with reactive programming? That's a asynchronous approach. We just didn't wait for anything. We have been always, doing more and more stuff, and we just gave some callback to the other side to call you on their own thread when their stuff is done. But with that, we have lost this natural back pressure of blocking, right? So we couldn't really regulate how much data are coming from the upstream and stuff like that. There was a problem. There was a callback hell with normal asynchronous programming. You all know it. You have a lot of callbacks. It's very common in JavaScript, right? I am a Java guy, but we got the callback hell. To cope with that, we got this Reactive Stream API for orchestration of callbacks, which is a set of APIs which orchestrates the callback plus it has built-in support for back pressure mechanism. So we got some way how to actually tune this flow from the other side without getting burned by it. If you want to use it, because those APIs are very simple, actually you can find them in the JDK. I think it's since Java 9. You can find it in Java Util concurrency flow class. And those APIs are fairly simple. It kind of looks like you can implement it, in a few minutes, and you can have your own, reactive streams. The problem is that there is a very strict and long set of rules, which is ridiculously complicated, and to do it right is very, very hard. It's so hard that if you try that, your IntelliJ IDE will actually warn you, don't do that. It's you can turn it off, I think, but it's a very dangerous thing to do. Instead,
there is also a TCK if somebody wants to try.
Yeah, that's I spent many hours with that. Yeah, there is a TCK. If you want to try it, you can play with it. It's you will learn some really cool things like the trampoline algorithm and stuff like that. It's really funny stuff to play with. Instead, it's way faster and safer to actually use one of the existing libraries. They are already implemented out there. All of them are free, which are listed here. There's even more of them probably, but those are the best ones, right? and you can use them. Usually, those are some reactive primitives with reactive operators. Implementing reactive streams API in some builder-like pattern. The most famous one is RxJava from David Carnock and a bunch of Netflix guys. That's like the oldest and best known one. Then there is Reactor from Spring. That's also from David Carnock and Oleg Dokuka and other guys who are not in Spring any longer. Akka streams, that's more for Scala guys. I never got that. StreamTalk from Apple is also really cool. I think half of the Netty team went there doing that in Apple, right? They have a lot of microservices in Apple. That's on Java. That's really interesting. In Helidon, we have our own operators also contributed by David Carnock. And there is Mutiny from Small Rye, written by Clement Escoffier and Ken Finnegan, if I'm not mistaken, right? They have very interesting API. It's a little different. It's like context-aware builder API. Can I say it like that? It's better. They try to make it a little nicer. It's very interesting. You can try all of them. Those are really like battle-proven implementations, so you always can use them. How many of you have been using reactive operators? Who are seasoned reactive programmers? I have two. So for the rest of you, I have to scare enough. So this is how it looks. I created this horror-like, a collage of reactive operators. This is how it looks. You program in it. You leave to get a coffee, and when you return back, you don't recognize the place where you are. So this is basically how it works. So reactive programming is a trap. It has very steep learning curve. You usually need to be very seasoned, programmer, aware of concurrency and knowing a lot of stuff about those reactive streams and how it works. It's really hard to understand it, to get it right. There's always someone who says, I know reactive programming, then I ask him how the flat map works, obviously, and then it usually ends. So it's really hard. It's really hard. The maintenance is a horror. The debugging is very hard because there is no order of things. So with your debugger, you are jumping from place to place, and everything is there is no order of things. The stack traces doesn't make sense because it's completely from different. The trampoline algorithm will make you even harder. And you cannot block anywhere, because if you are doing that, you at the best case scenario, you just lose that performance you have invested a lot of work in to actually achieve. In worst scenario, you can get a very ugly deadlock or things like that. And you have better organized callback hell this time. And so I don't forget, also reactive APIs are viral. So if you use it, it will infect all your APIs, and get rid of reactive APIs will be way harder, because you have to propagate those reactive APIs further, all those callbacks, otherwise you will lose the performance you've gained by using them. So basically what has happened is that expensive scheduling, which operating system cannot do as effectively, has been thrown at you. You have to do it with the reactive API. But there is a better solution, because in September 23, with Java 21 release, we got the project Loom as part of the JEP 444. There were virtual threads, structured concurrency, and some debugging tooling. Virtual threads are most important for our talk here. Now you can actually choose, if you, in Java, if you are creating new thread, you can choose if it will be virtual or if it will be the abstraction over the physical one. With virtual threads, the blocking operations are not a problem anymore. They seamlessly work super fast. You are avoiding the context switches. So it's the same trick like you are doing with reactive programming, but without all the hassle. There is actual scheduler which is clever enough under the hoods to do it with performance comparable to the reactive solutions, right? Stack traces are making sense again. You can have a huge number of virtual threads, like millions, and naive imperative programming style is cool and safe again. Why I say again, because maybe some of you have heard about the green threads we had in Java, like 23, 4 years, 2000 it was, when it was removed from JDK, right? So we had the green threads. Green threads were something similar. If you hear someone to tell you that it's the same thing, it's not, because green threads have been just emulating concurrency, but it wasn't concurrency. It was designed for computers which has only one core. And back then, it made sense actually to multiplex over one physical thread or lightweight thread in Solaris. But when the multi-core, multi-CPU machines came out, suddenly it didn't make sense at all, and it was super slow and didn't work anymore. They haven't been the actual reason why they have been removed from Java is because they didn't perform well enough. So again, now we have the virtual threads. You can block, it's really fast, do the same trick, you avoid the problem with context switching, so we can get back to the simple coding without all the reactive hassle. Now we will take a look at Helidon 4, where we are leveraging this heavily. So what we did in Helidon 4, we got rid of the reactive stuff from the web server. We have created a new one. Before we had a netty under the hood. That's a very famous library for asynchronous work with sockets in Java. That's really battle-proven. It's like the best piece of the reactive asynchronous library you can get in a whole Java ecosystem, with some really fancy names working on it, from Red Hat, for example. And we got rid of it because we think that we don't need it anymore. Instead we have created our own web server. It's called Project Nima. It was kind of a working name, but it stuck. This new web server is very simple. It's blocking from the bottom up. It is optimized specifically for the virtual threads, and we replaced the netty with that. With that, we also replaced all the reactive APIs on Helidon SE. So that's where we are. Here is the timelines. I like timelines, so I created one for you. Those are the releases of Helidon. You can see that we have released Helidon 4 right after the release of Java 21, because we have been working in advance on it. In Helidon 3, we already had support by offloading from reactive handlers to the virtual threads, but it was only offloading, and we have changed our reactive APIs in a way that it will be easier to switch to the blocking ones in Helidon 4, which proves to be very handy when we are trying to help our users. This is the overall architecture. We had Native, we don't have it anymore. We had our own web server. But we also had the reactive APIs in Helidon SE, which is under the hood of Helidon MP. But Helidon SE now has blocking APIs, and Helidon MP didn't change at all. It's same. It was imperative before, it's still imperative. But here, when we had the reactive Helidon SE, we had very expensive abstraction layer when we had to offload to the physical thread from some pool to make Helidon MP imperative, because that's what Jakarta application should be, right? And this is the example. Here is Helidon 3 and 4. This is Helidon SE, you know, the more rudimentary one. You can see the reactive operators here on the left side in the reactive old version, and here you can see the new Helidon 4. Am I still on camera? Sorry. And you can see the new imperative one. In the old, here we are just calling some other REST endpoint with reactive client this time. We are registering some callbacks for getting the right field from the JSON, doing some uppercase operation with it, and sending when there is some error, we will send it back from our endpoint and send a successful result if it's successful, right? This is very hard to debug. Again, you are jumping from one lambda to the other. It's very complicated. If you want to explain it to the new junior developer who just joined your company, you have no chance, right? But with this one, it will be way easier, because if you want to debug this, you will be actually going from up to down. Here you are actually blocking until you get the response from the remote server. So everything is really simple. You are going from up to down, and you get the performance comparable to the reactive version without all the hassle. Again, because Helidon SE is actually under the hood of Helidon MP, Helidon MP stays exactly the same. They are same JAX-RS resources with same annotations. Everything is completely same. It's still imperative. It's just way faster, like twice faster. You can see it here. This is Helidon 3 MP. This is the JAX-RS endpoint. Looks like this. And this is Helidon 4, which looks exactly the same, because on JAX-RS APIs, nothing has changed. Again, instead of Netty, we got Project Nima. There is no offloading, no retrofitting. It's completely new web server. And as a bonus, we got rid of a lot of CVEs. Those are real CVEs from the Netty. It's been very hard. This is like the peak of my graphical abilities. So those are the real CVEs we got rid of. Now there is a time to create our own with our new web server. And why is it fundamentally different? Well, our different is built and tuned specifically for the virtual threads. We got help from the Project Loom developers. Everything is optimized for the virtual threads. It is optimized in such a way that you can't even switch it back to the physical thread. It just won't work. That's because they are really different contention metrics in the code path, and everything is very different. So no longer we can switch back to the physical thread. It doesn't work anymore. Everything is virtual thread based. From the socket up, everything is blocking, imperative. Really simple. Our web server, I don't even want to compare it, because our web server is a really simplistic web server in comparison with Netty, but it does the same thing with less room for errors. Again, there is no extra layer with reactive stuff. You get directly from the web server to the promised lands of imperative APIs, and everything is great and will stay that way, luckily. Now there is also no lunch comes free, right? So there is the Achilles heel of virtual threads. How many of you have heard about pinning? Oh, that's good. Okay, so this is a problem with the virtual threads. It didn't come free. There are some issues with it. What is the pinning? If you are scheduling your the virtual threads are being scheduled under the hood by a really great piece of engineering we have in JDK, and it's called for-join pool. It's been created by Doug Lee, the demigod of concurrency in Java, right? That's actually what is doing the scheduling itself. Right now, it's the default scheduler. In the future, it can be pluggable, and maybe we will have even some other schedulers. But the problem is that this scheduler has some carrier threads. Those are physical threads which are responsible for actually running the jobs for the virtual thread. So each time we are working with the virtual threads, there is a physical thread behind the scenes. But just like with the continuations in other languages, when you block somewhere, the physical threads get freed to do some other work with other virtual threads. When you run into the pinning, it means that something had caught up your physical thread, and the scheduler cannot get it back. It got stuck. So typically, if you are calling through the JNI some native code and there is some mutex log inside, he doesn't know anything about the virtual thread. He just sees the thread and he won't return the control. So the for-join pool won't have the chance to work with it anymore. What the for-join pool will do, he will just spin up a new physical thread. So there will be a price to pay in performance. Where it happens, I already told that it happens when you are using JNI and there is some internal log. That's one of the things when you have to kind of think about it. The other problem is synchronized in Java. Right now there are two ways how you can, or more ways how you can do the logs in Java. You can create your own spin log if you want, right? It's not exactly the best way how to do it. You can use rateRestaurantLog, the new modern great log, which is virtual thread aware, so it works really well with the virtual threads. Or you can use synchronized work, really the oldest and best known ones. But the synchronized doesn't work really well with virtual threads. Actually, it will cause the pinning in some cases, in a lot of cases. So this is one way. Other problem is that the virtual threads are not really great use case for some long-running actions. I said it bad. For some CPU-intensive, long-running tasks, that's better. And for those, same applies like for reactive programming. You usually, for this type of workload, you usually want to offload to some physical thread. Again, with the pinning, the same remedy can be used. You can always offload to the physical thread. That's like the universal solution. So what we can do about it? First suspect is usually the synchronized in Java. It's not always harmful. Some short pinning by default, under the 20 milliseconds is considered not harmful, and it's not even being reported by default by this GFR even thing stuff. So the short-lived operations are completely okay if you are using concurrent hash map. It is used only for this isolation inside that map. You are completely okay. If that happens again, the carrier thread pool will compensate by spinning a new carrier thread. That will degrade your performance, but you will still be in the game. If it happens too many times, then you will have a problem. And again, usage of rateRestaurant logs is completely safe. It's virtual thread aware. I have prepared a little example for you. This is like the simplest I can come up with how to create a pinning. So this is really simple. There is a thread sleep. If you will now in Java 21 enter this method thread sleep, you will figure out that it's changed a little. There is a commit from Alan Bateman which added if statement, and there is if this is a virtual thread, then do something else. If you will go a little deeper, it will be yield continuation. So it will free up the carrier thread to be used for some other thread. The problem is that with synchronized here, you will get locked. It will never happen, and the physical thread will get pinned. How to detect if you have a problem? First thing you need to actually, you have to be able to detect it. So first thing you will find in any tutorial about the virtual threads on the internet is to use this JDK trace pin thread system property. Please don't use it. Don't use it ever. Not especially not in production. I have seen that it's a really a problem. The problem is that this thing is actually printing into the system out, and system out in Java is being synchronized. So it's intermittent, so it doesn't have to happen all the time. But if that happens, you will get really ugly deadlock. It's such a bad deadlock that even this JCMD tool you have to actually, contact your JVM and get some debugging info will not work, because even the event loop, which is serving this tool, will be deadlocked. So everything goes really bad. There is bug for it. Wow. They have fixed some part of this problem already, and they are planning to remove this property completely. So it won't be there somewhere in the future. Again, I don't know any versions. Nobody wants to tell me. But even in that bug itself, in the description, you can read that they are planning to remove it in the future. So with this, you can really easily find where the pinning is happening, if you are lucky. You can see the crime has happened on the line 8. There is some monitor being held. You can make it a little shorter by using this short switch, but you really shouldn't do it like that. Instead, you can use the JFR event. It's way better. It does the very same thing without all the danger of deadlocks. It's really easy to use. So you will. It's even enabled by default for the pinning, which takes longer than 20 milliseconds. If you will dump the JFR recording like I did here, you will see exactly the same information, that the pinning crime is being committed on the line 8, and you will have the same solution. Again, in Quarkus, they have really nice unit test feature which runs the unit test directly with checking those GFR events. That's a really nice feature, and with that you can actually do a unit test for pinning. That's really cool. And fixing the pinning issue, well, the universal solution, but not really performant one, is offloading to the physical thread. That's the thing which we would have to do with the reactive code anyway. So you would have to spin some physical thread, create some pool for it, and start the work which is problematic or blocking on the new thread, and then call some callback later and so on. So for JNI things, you usually cannot change those native libraries, right? For some libraries which are legacy and nobody will touch them ever again, you again will have to do offloading, or you can rewrite the library from the synchronized to the rentrat logs, like the MySQL connector for J did, and now is super virtual thread friendly. So those are the two main solutions. And how to do that in Helidon? In Helidon, we have a lot of ways how to do that. In Helidon MP, there is one annotation which comes with Jersey by default. You can use it even anywhere else where the Jersey runtime is used. So there is this managed async annotation, and it will run it on a new thread from special thread pool. So you can run your JAX-RS endpoint directly on the new physical thread or new pooled physical thread and offload it this way. But it doesn't work on the CDI beans. For that, we have more versatile annotation, much stronger one, with which you can actually choose if you want to run it on a platform thread, virtual thread, if you want to use the thread pool you have created somewhere with some provider, or the one you have configured somewhere in the configuration. It's really strong tool. So again, you are running on a physical thread if you use it like this. So it's really easy with one annotation on JAX-RS endpoint or the CDI bean. You are good to go. On Helidon SE, it gets a little complicated. Don't be scared about it. This is Helidon SE, so you have all the knobs and you can play with it a little. So here you have to create your own thread pool, spin up new thread, or take it from it if it's already there, and run your troublesome task in it. There is great advantage from the reactive handler, because you don't have to use the callbacks here, because you are running on the virtual threads. You can safely block. So you can just block the virtual thread until your offloaded work is done. So it's still way simpler than offloading from the reactive operator, for example. And I have used here our own thread pool supplier in Helidon, not some generic one. That's because this one supports context, Helidon context, and in Helidon you can have context with some security stuff and things like that. So those get propagated for you even through all that offloading. And how about future of synchronized? It's not so bad as it looks. Actually, the problem can be solved. It takes some time because in old JDKs there was a lot of optimization techniques around the synchronized, you know, those lock elision stuff and things like that, and those need to be removed first. So that's the problem. They are right now they are in the process when they are simplified the synchronized in Java well enough, they can actually fix it for the virtual thread. So this is older slide. I have this, you can access on the internet. I have linked somewhere, I will send it to you. You can access this Project Loom early access builds. This one is on top of 23, JDK 23, but the current one is already on 24, I think. This one is with the release notes where they have actually fixed the synchronized, so you can try it out. It works, it's great. But if this one, object weight monitors are still a problem. That's fixed in the latest early access build, which has been released somewhere at the end of the summer, I think. So that's fixed too. I just don't know the version of the JDK when it will be actually released, you know, into production. Some say it will be 24. We have been assured it will be 25 because that's a long-term supported release. I hope it will be 24. It probably won't be backported because all those optimizations which are kind of standing in the way, you know, of those changes. So this is how it goes. So the future is bright. The synchronized will work. Only problem will be GNI and some long-term tasks, which is the same problem we have with the reactive stuff. I have tested it for you with our ugly thread sleep in the synchronized block. I have downloaded that one. This is the old one based on JDK 23. So first I ran it on the 21. I got the issue with this bad system property for detecting it. And then I did the same with this early access build, and there is no panic anymore because it's been fixed. The synchronized is virtual thread friendly.
Are you sure they didn't just remove the property?
I didn't try the events. Maybe I should. Yeah. So remember, in comparison with accidental blocking in reactive code, it's the pinning is annoyance. Actually, it's the similar problem. You can go around it. You can fix it. You can detect it. You have to kind of know about it. But as on the other side, you get really nice APIs which are easy to explain to the junior developers in your company, and even to you if you open your code after the half a year, and you will recognize what actually is happening there. So this has been the Helidon introduction. I hope it didn't take too long, did it? You can find us on Twitter. We have some web pages. We are writing articles. We are completely open source. You can find us here on GitHub. And we even did some YouTube videos. Or you can ask any question. We have a public Slack channel which is completely free. You can ask your questions if you have a problem with Helidon, and we will help you there. And that's all. Thank you.
You spent quite a bit of time with the pinning, but it's kind of obvious problem. Why was not it addressed in the initial release, in the initial public release in 21?
They have been working on it for quite a few years. Like it was like 7 years, I think, right? And then they figure out that with the current state of the JDK, that's what I am not citing exactly the guys from the Loom team. I'm just getting some pieces together. So they have released it with with the warning that you shouldn't use synchronized, that you should be aware of the pinning, because that's one of the side steps you have to count on. And now they are moving on by fixing this, by calling it another feature, by making synchronized virtual thread friendly. I would be also rather if it would work from the day one, especially for Helidon, because it's based on virtual threads, right? But the truth is, we have a lot of users who are using it even in production, and they are aware of pinning, and they have to just work with it as a fact. And same thing, you have to count with the problems with blocking in reactive code. You have to be aware of the pinning, and it will get better in future. This is the state of things. I am not part of the Loom team. If there would be a Ron Pressler, he's kind of jumpy, so he would get really agitated and start explaining how this is a great thing, and the pinning is another step forward in this long U problem with missing scheduling in JDK, right? Because Go had the continuations, the Erlang had continuations, even Kotlin had coroutines, and we had nothing. It was just bad in Java. So now we have it. It's cool. It performs really well. There are some really cool optimizations. We have talked on the whole that they are compressing the saved stacks from the virtual threads with the garbage collector thread and stuff like that. It's really cool stuff they had to do, and that's why it took so long, because they have been able to make it work, in the year one. The problem is that they had to actually be on par with the reactive programming, otherwise there wouldn't be no sense in using it. Okay, so are we having another pause, or we can jump directly to demo?
We will have
we are pausing. Okay. Also, after the demo, for the best question, I have a free book here. It's about Helidon from some world-renowned authors. So if anyone is interested, prepare some nice questions. We will do the demo with Helidon. There is no extra integration between Helidon and MySQL. It's just MySQL connector version 9, which came out this summer, is actually virtual thread friendly. They have replaced all the synchronized, so it can be used on virtual threads. So we will do those CRUD operations with Helidon and MySQL and add there some Brno pubs. Hopefully.
Okay. So, since we took a little bit more time for this session, let's say that we will start the demo 0.5. Okay.
It will be shorter. I have made it shorter because it's OK, tak ne, počkej.
You're online already.
OK, so I have typical technical issue with slides like that. Does it work? It does. OK, so this is the last part. We do some live coding. It won't be nothing fancy. We will just use the great new XDEF API in new MySQL connector for J with Helidon 4. And because this new connector is virtual thread friendly, we will use it on top of Helidon 4 SE. We will do all the CRUD operation with some, we will add some BrnoPub, some fancy one, and show how it works nicely and how it's easy. And because I don't want to really keep you for long, I will do a lot of shortcuts, so hopefully it will work. First thing, there is a new release. It was this summer, I think. Is there a date? Yeah, is it the 7th month? You can see that there is the synchronized block has been removed and replaced with the restaurant log. So now it's fully virtual thread friendly, and you can use the connector itself in virtual thread environment like Helidon 4 is. What we will do, we will create our cloud restaurant. We will set up MySQL database in Docker. Hopefully it will start and run. We will initialize it with sample restaurant ranking dataset. Is the same dataset
I think so.
Lukáš used, because we both have it from Thread, right?
Might be, because there are two, like the Python script, it's like generated, right?
Yeah, I used the Python script, and because I am not really proficient with Python, it was pain. But I think I will use it, and hopefully it will get generated properly. With this dataset, we will connect to it with application created in Helidon SE. It will be Helidon SE project created from the web starter. We have this starter page. It's usual. Most of the microservice frameworks have starter like that. Spring Boot has it. Quarkus has it. Micron has it. Dropwizard doesn't have it, I think. We will use the MySQL connector for J, as I said, the version 9 with virtual thread support. We will leverage the XDEF API we saw in Lukáš presentation, and we will do some cool aggregation at the end. We have really nice SQL statements, so we will show you that it's not only the Mongo-like features you get from the XDEF API and documents in MySQL, but also when you don't have anywhere to go with these fancy documents APIs, you can take your favorite SQL power tools and drill on it properly.
Exactly.
There are some useful links. We will use Helidon Starter for creating a new template project. There is user guide for XDEF API. That's the one I had to read to actually know how to use it. It was really simple. I understood it really quickly, hopefully. And there is working example on the GitHub. We have updated it this morning. So if we fail miserably during the demo, we can always download it, and that one is working.
Yeah.
So the first thing we will do, we will go to the starter. I will start Chrome. Okay, I don't see Chrome. That's weird. Why I don't? Okay. The first glitch. Hopefully the last one. And we are going to Helidon IO Starter. So those are our fancy pages. You can find Starter right here. And here you can click in all the features you really want. We will be selecting the flavor first. So we'll use the latest version, the 4.1.1, which is like a week old. We will use Helidon SE here. So we'll click next. We don't need full quick start. We will do custom. It's really easy one. We don't need any JSON, because with this document API, also the same for the Mongo client, you are usually having some document object model around this JSON, which is different, which is usually proprietary to the client, right? So the JSON APIs are actually part of the connector, so we don't need any JSON support. We will be just sending strings. We won't be securing anything. There is no time for that. we don't need any database support, we'll do that manually. No web clients, no fault tolerance, no metrics, no tracing, no Verasano support. We can add modules, sure. And we will do some nice group ID, so it will be cloud restaurant. Something we will do the same for the package name and to be called cloud restaurant. Simple as that. We will click download and we will get a zip file, cloud restaurant zip, which ended up in downloads. So now I can go in. I will go into the temp, which remembers when I tried it, and I will move it from the download like this. yeah, I did that before. So now it's unzipped. Now I will go inside and start our favorite IDE. And that's it. We can get rid of that. So this is the quick start, the easy one, because the README is really not a big. Sorry. Okay, I will do all the fancy presentation modes. View mode, enter presentation mode. Now it's even worse. Okay, you can see it now, right? So this is the README of the stuff. I can even see somehow like this. Yeah, this is still small. I have no idea how to make it bigger, sorry. So you see the code. I will change the README in a way that we actually have some battle plan, and so now it will be easier than because copying it out of the presentation is like undoable. So what we will do, we will build the Docker image for the MySQL. We have it in our example repo, so I will do it just like that. Against bigger, right? Okay, there is a plus button. That's not really practical like that.
Come on, plus?
No, it doesn't work here.
Okay.
I've run into this issue several times. Sorry for that. Yeah, just like that. So now you can see it, right?
Yeah.
So we will build it. Did I remove the old one? Hopefully I did. Yeah. Now we will run it. So we will have running MySQL. It will take a little time to actually start it. So it's starting right now. We don't see it, but it's happening. And in the time between, we will download the famous Python script from Frederick, which creates 1,000 of restaurants, I think.
You can actually choose 1,000 or 10,000. It's up to you.
I can't. I will just generate 1,000. Okay. So I will just. Oh, I am in the wrong directory. That place. I will do it like this. Like this. Yes. Again, I will make it bigger.
Nice.
And we can do download. So now we have it. You can see it's really small in here. There is the script. It's a Python script with some black magic from the Frederick, which generates restaurants. Right. Now we go back into our README, and we have to set up the Python environment. Otherwise, everything gets broken, right? So I will do it.
And just a note, like if you wanna review the code, it's on GitHub, right?
Yeah, I can share the links. I have even the QR code for it at the end, so don't worry. I will install some necessary things like the Python connector. We are on the Java user group. It's kind of weird, right? Now we can finally generate stuff. And because we have spent a lot of time installing this, the MySQL is probably already started, so it works. It's generating documents.
1,000 documents.
Exactly. Would it be 1,000 dots?
I think so.
Okay, so we have to. It's Python, yeah, exactly. If it would be Java, it would be already done.
It's built Benjamin.
Yeah. Wow, now we have 1,000 restaurants generated as a documents, and we can actually check it if we did it right. And I have prepared this, hopefully too, and I don't see it in the presentation mode. Okay, that's how your database is. Data source? No, you have to.
You mean database connection in IntelliJ?
Data source is there it? Explorer toolbar?
I think sources.
No, it's not. Sources. No.
You have it on the right, no?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. It's small again, but we will do a new query console. And when we execute it, we can actually see that there is a lot of, and I cannot make this bigger again, but.
Do you see it?
Can you see it? There is only 10 pubs there, but we can obviously select more, so there's a lot of pubs in there. So this is how we can select the document stuff, and we know we have it in our database. So next stop is exercise the application. That's not true, we have to create it first, right? So we will need dependencies. What we won't need are tests, right? The tests are for the guys who are easily scared of.
For the scared ones.
Yeah, exactly. And we are brave, so we won't be testing anything. We will use only dependency for the web server. This is Helidon SE web server. We will use YAML configuration, so it's a little nicer. We will need some logging. We'll use Java util logging, and I will add the dependencies for MySQL connector. This is version 9. That's the one which works nicely with virtual threads. I have to align the proto buffers. This is the thing you would have to do in Spring Boot too, because it clashes with our BOM version, so it works nicely. I will align it with the latest version used in the connector. And also I will want to use configuration mapping. I will show it to you later. So I will add one more dependency. This conf mapper dependency is this one. It will map directly my configuration into some record, so I can use it directly and don't have to shuffle around with properties there. It's small again, right? Sorry for that. So we have dependencies. We have to get rid of all those tests. This is small. I will delete it and it will be gone. And now we have those. This is the main class. This is how the Helidon is actually started. You have a typical main static method from which you will set up. Yeah, again, sorry for that. I'm making it bigger. Now it's better. I'm just making it. I'm logging the. I'm configuring the logging. I will prepare the configuration so it gets loaded. So we have this YAML file here with some example configuration. We will change it later. There is configuration for the server itself, and there will be some configuration for our connector. Then we will set up the server. We will do routing manually. So instead of this, we can do it in the Lambda directly. So it will be a little simpler. I will get rid of it. Use the Lambda here, like this. Register. And because it's not Gritza, why it's not working? I am missing. Okay. And because it's not grid service, it will be a restaurant service, right? We will just refactor it a little, like this. Service, that's done. And go inside, make it bigger again. That's annoying. Okay, so this is a restaurant service. This is a typical. This is similar thing to the JAX-RS resource, but you are doing things manually. So you have your routing here. You can see paths and methods used there. We will use different ones. So I have prepared a template for that again. So I will just do routing, and you'll have all the routings. And we don't have those methods done. So we will do some updating restaurants. We'll be rating restaurants, so we can do the fancy aggregation at the end and see which pubs are best. We will delete restaurants, probably won't even try it. We will see the leaderboard, that's the fancy select.
Yes, yeah.
We will get restaurant by name. That's probably not the most proficient way how I did it. We'll create a new restaurant, some local one, and we can get some restaurant list and the names only. So this is what will be. We will start with the list itself. For that we need some little. We can remove all of this because this is from the quick start. Now it's getting a little less complicated. Like this, we don't need greeting. We don't be greeting anyone, and that's it. Now we will get the global. I will prepare the fields again. So what we will be needing. This is limit header. This is clever way how to cache the header names. It makes everything faster. So if you prepare a header name like that, you can query it in your handler, and everything will be more proficient. Those tricks are also used in Vertex and other web servers where you want to really go after some really cool performance. This is it. The client is not filled in. Credentials doesn't exist. This will be our configuration. So I will create the record for it. It's like that. We want this one be up config by db config, and we didn't configure anything yet, so we can do that. Instead of the up config, we will just do our config. Our config is really simple. We are using this new MySQL X protocol, right? This is the URL.
Yeah. Also, the port is different, like 33060, comparing to default MySQL. Otherwise, typical connection string.
And we need schema and collection, which is actually a table, right? So
right.
You already know that from your talk. So this is all we actually need to connect it. We have the driver and we have credentials. So credentials are here. We'll just fill it. Instead of up, it has prefix db. You can see it here. And whatever I did, it will be used here. And instead of this, we'll actually fill up our record with the configuration. So this credentials, nicer name. We will do db config as credentials. This is the mapping which is done by the dependency we have added for it. And like this, if it's not configured, it will throw exception. You can customize that if you want, any way you want. And we also have to prepare the client itself. This is the XDEF API client already. So we can set it up in the constructor like this. So we can use it in our methods. It's new client factory. Get client. The URL is in our configuration. There will be, okay, this is not right. AI, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, like that. So now we are set up. We have the client prepared, and we can start prepare some source method. First thing, we will get the list of the resources. Okay, the AI is remembering my last attempts. So I will create. I had some shortcut for it, and it's list. This one. So this is the way how you are retrieving the header. We have optional header here with which we can limit the number of listed pubs here, and the default is 10. It's used right here. You can see, and this is on the slides actually, so I can show it to you. We did Docker, we did dependencies, we did configuration, and this is the typical way how you are using the XDEF API. So if you have been using Mongo, it's very familiar. You have some client, you have some try-catch block, and in that you are doing your work. And when the session or client is closed, the connection is returned to the pool, right? And it works with some mysterious way we don't really need to understand. So this is how we are doing. First thing we are doing here is that we are retrieving the collection. The collection is retrieved by name, so we have the name of the collection from the configuration if I go back, the collection is called restaurants. So again, that's the equivalent of the table.
Exactly.
So we get actually the table, which is collection of documents. So each row will be a JSON document, and we will find through it with the limit, get the 10 of them, fetch them all. I have added some fancy stream API, so you can work with it any further. We will get just the names. This is probably not the most efficient way how to do it, because I'm getting all the whole documents here, but you can work with this proprietary JSON document model directly from Java. It works really nice. I will create a JSON array against this JSON. Again, this JSON array is again the proprietary API. Same thing we would find with the Mongo client, and then I will send it back as a nicely formatted string directly from the XDEF API. So now we can try it out. I think I didn't forget anything, which means I most certainly forgot something, and directly run it. It's up. The example here is wrong. It should be grid, it should be restaurants, but it doesn't matter because it will work anyway. And we will check it out with MySQL call like this. Why doesn't it? Wow. Okay, it doesn't work. I should have endpoint not found because I did routing wrong. Like, what could I have routing here? This is the restaurant list. I know what's wrong. I know exactly what's wrong. It's not grid anymore. It should be restaurants. Okay, that one wasn't templated. You can see it yourself. So I will start it again, build it and start it again. And now we can do the same thing. And it still doesn't work. Endpoint not found. Restaurant.
You have S at the end.
Restaurants.
Try restaurants.
Really? Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Great eyes. So here you can see there is 10 restaurants. It works. We have them. We can find them by name later if you want. But the first one is done. So it's really easy to actually use the XDEF API. It's super simple. If you are not proficient with SQL and stuff like that, and you just like your JSON documents and are used to the Mongo client, you can use the MySQL database like that very efficiently. And when you run into some corner, you can always call more senior developer who knows the SQL and can drill on it with some real power tools, right? So the next one we will do is the createRestaurant. This is important because we will need it shortly to create some local pub. I have it templated, so it will take like. Do I have it wrong?
No. I'm just thinking whether we can maybe show also the database. How does it look like with the 3 columns? I talked about the ID, doc, and just if you go to shift like to database explorer, like.
Wait a second, I have to find the right. Here.
Yes, and if you go to like.
I have to use this one. This one?
Yeah, or just star, like not the name, but star.
Only star?
Yeah, like a whole.
Only
select star from restaurant.
You like this?
Yeah.
So we'll see the documents.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do that.
You see, so this is like exactly it's column, and in the column is whole JSON. So
you can see it because it's too small, but it's really nice.
You probably won't. Yeah.
Yeah, there are the documents. There are some metadata for it.
But the document is JSON and with the
JSON,
leaderboard.
and there is even the schema column,
which is empty now.
which is empty, but you can validate it.
if you set up, then you
And it
can
validates automatically, right? If you have a schema there, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And is the schema already? I thought this is just a spec. It's the spec is not released yet, or is it? The JSON schema?
No, yeah, you can.
It was draft for many years.
I think you can use it. Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, and with the leaderboard function, which we will show later, then you access like the data inside the JSON, right?
Yeah. So we will be creating restaurants. We will be getting restaurant by name. I will do it at all together. So we will leave the leaderboard at the end because that's the coolest one. Now we will get restaurant by name, JUG pop, get by name, like this. Same approach, auto-closable session, we get collection, we find it by name, and then we return the whole document so we can actually see what's there. We will continue with deleting, pop, delete. Same approach. Again, if you are familiar with the prepare statements from the JDBC, this is very, very similar. You have remove statement. We will have modify statement. Is it right?
Right.
So we will do this is the rate one. JUG pop rate, and rating will be actually modifying. So here you can see the modify statement. Again, we are modifying existing. Then we modify the document, and there was this method called patch. Okay? But it was a different one. No, it wasn't.
It was modify.
Modify. Okay. So confusing is something. Really? Oh. My bad. So this is very similar. We are. What this does, we are just adding the grade, so you can actually grade the restaurants, and then in the leaderboard we will see which restaurants got the best grades, right? So we will see actual aggregation for which the Mongo would be really, not exactly best data source, but with MySQL we can leverage our SQL knowledge very nicely. We'll update restaurant name. Okay, I forgot that one. Update by name. This is the one. This is the page.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can use the modify statement, and you can change some part of the document, and then patch it, and it will actually do the change only on those parts. So, so that's kind of very easy to update. And the last one and the best one is the leaderboard, where we will do actually SQL, but we won't do it with the, what did I do? It works really nicely. But we won't do it with the JDBC statement. We will do it through the XDEF API. So here you can see that we are using the XDEF API session, and we are actually using SQL method with which you can use some heavy stuff like here. So we will be doing the leaderboard, we will be doing partitioning, we will be doing aggregation and ordering it by the best average score which has been aggregated from those partitions.
Yeah.
It's a very simple explanation of But if you have been working before with SQL XML, you can see the JSON's array aggregation. There was the XML array aggregation function in Oracle and DB2 and even in Postgres, maybe in MySQL. I don't remember if it was part of it. But it was part of the SQL standard. So this JSON is also following this path, which is really nicely because.
Yeah, and actually, what I would emphasize, it's like we are accessing the doc column, which is the JSON, and with those kind of like syntax, you can access the data inside those JSONs, right? That's how you get the data from like simply like string, because. But yeah, the query needs more explanation.
So now.
I think we haven't that much time for it.
So now we can rebuild it, run it again with restaurants. So yeah, I will just change the restaurants because now none of my snippets will work. Of course, I have them prepared. Thank you for this. I just didn't see it. And now, if I switch to README, we can create restaurant. I have very special restaurant, Zlatá Loď, and I will create it with this. Restaurant is created. We can check it out. My name. I have also prepared it. Oh, sorry. Like this, and you can see that we have created Zlatá Loď restaurant. It's in the neighborhood of Brno. The cuisine is Bohemian. The cuisine is Bohemian. Shouldn't it be Moravian? Anyone? It should be, right? So we should update it, right? So I have update here with the cuisine update for the better one.
Okay. That was question already answered.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
Scripted. And now if we do, now it's right. It's the Brno neighborhood and the cuisine is Moravian. But it has no grades. Nobody is going there, you know, giving it the grades. So if we run the leaderboard, which is this one, it won't be anywhere near to the winners, right? I'll just make it bigger. So you can see there is some Johnson Salazar who sells bagels and has really good grades. We cannot leave it like that, right? So we will give it some rating. Yeah, is it enough? And we call the leaderboard. It's already there. How is possible? I gave it a 100. Yeah, that's maybe too much, but okay, the Zlatá Loď is now the best restaurant in our database. Yeah. Out of 1,000 of restaurants, 1,001, Zlatá Loď is the best one. So this is basically it. It's very easy, and as you can see, it is very easy until you run into some corner where the document API is not enough. But unlike with the Mongo, you are not stuck in there. You can just, you know, take all your SQL knowledge and drill on it really hard, and you are not cornered.
There was a method called getRestaurantByName, which was, I guess, loading the whole restaurant.
Yeah, it's not the best way how to use it. I'm just not proficient with the API, so I got whole document and then it looks really nice when you can kind of, you know, combine it with the JavaStream API, but you are getting whole document. It's obviously possible to get only the names. Lukáš had it in his presentation, so you can get much simpler JSON. No, you can get a subset of the JSON document, right? Right. Yeah. So so you don't have to do this transformation yourself in the Java. It would be really ineffective. But instead, to get only the small documents with just the names and then list them.
And we can limit the number of rows within that method, or once we calling, or with JSON.
It's just a number coming from the API. It's the integer, I think.
You can limit with the the XDEF API, the limit function. It's already there. Like
Yeah. So it is in SQL.
But this one, this big one, the leaderboard, is actually plain SQL, right? Yeah. So you have to put the limit there because.
Where was the limit? Here is the limit. So it's part of the API actually.
Yes.
So we can.
All the stuff I was using in the shell. You can use it with the connector, with the API.
I was
right?
listing.
Unless it's those big SQLs which deals with the data inside those columns.
The
access the JSON properties of the document actually.
Limit
is cool.
100, and like this you can just change it and you will get more. The chance we will run into the Zlatá Loď here is small, because it's on top, right? It's the best one.
And all of the JSON types and like return SQL types appropriated to that connector?
Yes, it's same like with the Mongo client. You get it's same because they have interconnected with the client somehow, and they can do some lazy stuff and stuff like that. So in Mongo it works the same way. You don't get the JSON-P compatible DOM. You don't get Jackson data object model. You will get the proprietary one. So if you want to transform it into different one or into JSON-B, I don't know. Do you have some tools for that? I didn't try that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So probably some mapping. Maybe some tweaking with Orica or Dozer would do this the trick for you. Also, but it would be cool to have something generic. Yeah. So we tried this one. This is the beast, right? It's nice. And again, it's like the SQL XML. It's nice to remember for me because we have been doing the same thing. And again, you can transform the documents to tables and vice versa. This is very practical. I remember with SQL XML, you could actually index in some databases. You can actually index the documents inside the rows. Yeah, you could index, part of the.
I'm not sure about the indexing part.
Yeah.
Here. I'm not really sure.
Maybe, but if it was possible with XML, it was surely possible with JSON,
so,
right?
Yeah. And also, like the first row is like just formatting. You see, it's like
pretty fine because we get the
If you
string.
go from inside, it creates like from table JSON objects, then aggregates to array, and then just formats the output.
But again, the aggregation, it's the pain point in the Mongo. Here it's very easy because you have all the power tools available. And here is the promised QR code, so you can get to our repo. Almost everything worked. Not everything at first, but the demo is way shorter than the last time when we did the mistake when I was coding the CRUD operations, and it really was too long. I hope you are not bored. And that's all from us.
I feel like you've introduced at least a big hole. I know this is like a sample application, but there's at least a big hole in the data modification stuff, but maybe even like could be considered security hole, because since you are just piping whoever gives you to the modify method, I could, for example, change the grades object, and I would be interested in seeing what happens with the leaderboard query then. If you change it to objects, you are relying on the grades being an array in the complex query, and I would be interested in seeing if MySQL complains and throws an exception, which would result in 500 for everyone. And also I would be interested in seeing if I could change, for example, internal IDs with the modify method through the driver. So we are giving it like where ID, and then giving it how to page the document, but the row ID is derived from the document, right? So maybe I could change even the ID through the modify method, right?
We had the XML injection before too, and we have been solving it by strict validation and content guarding and ORM, or no ORM, it's the mapping to the objects, right? We had the Hibernate validator with some strict rules. We had schematron. There is tools like that for JSON too. So those are. This is not the first rodeo we are having with the documents, right? Like all of us. So those are the things we ran into before, and we will run into again. Of course, streaming your JSON from some publicly available endpoint directly into the database is a grave mistake. But I hope that won't happen to anyone.
Yeah, I just think it would be fair to like put in a big warning, like this is very simplified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do this in production applications because
also,
you're going to get fouled.
Also keep in mind that this is not good for every case, right? You use it for like really unstructured data when you have loads of data, and you just don't have time to go through them and tell exactly which field is which type. You just load it and then you process it, right? And I'm not sure about the data type it's a good question. Thanks. I guess when I was playing with that, I'm not sure now, but if you put like data with other type than the others, I think it whether it outputs as null, as couldn't interpret, or there could be error, but I'm not sure. I think, but my guess is it doesn't break. I think it deals with like I cannot interpret it, just outputs null for those. Yeah.
Any more questions?
And also, sorry to interrupt. Also, you can, if you wanted to put constraints there, like data types to avoid those conflicts, then you can schema those data. I'm not sure how this could be like in the real world, because imagine you get loads of data, you don't know whether there are like false data, right? Corrupted. And you put schema on some column and some data type, then okay, it can break, but I'm not sure. But if you are putting new data and you wanna be sure that this column, this data type, it's integer, then you don't corrupt your data in the future, because you get the schema there, the JSON schema.
It's about the use case, right? It's
Yeah.
same for Mongo. Where I seen heavy use of the document databases was in these patent offices. They are using it a lot. Again, the XML ones usually, but because they are like interconnected publishers. But in patent offices, that's the content they are usually creating themselves by some pipeline somewhere, and that's some document which will be processed again by their code somewhere else. So if you are using document database, you are actually storing your own data structures usually. If you are storing data structures which are got from outside, then you have a security issue. That's true, but that's not the only use case when this can be used like this.
Maybe a question about the XDEF API. Is it possible to have notifications if the data is modified in the database to have kind of callback into your application server?
Of course, you can have triggers, right? It's a database.
But you mean you're using XDEF API in your like program, right? And
yeah,
you modify it on database level.
I'm just looking basically for the feature parity between Postgres and MySQL here. So yeah, as you said, triggers, but triggers could not only modify other data in the database, but also you can have a kind of connection open from your application server that listens to the notifications and
Yes.
Creates different modifications.
Yeah, that's a cool.
Let's try. I don't know.
Okay.
We have to try. I'm not sure.
It's a new API. There is a lot of possibilities, obviously.
Yes. And
you can break it in many ways.
and actually, there were some bugs right before which are now fixed, and so I believe the development is quite active there, and also like Oracle, I would say, like has an intention to put resources there. So I would say if the feature is not now there, it will be.
The HeatWave is really cool in the cloud. That's like the money maker for Oracle, right?
Yes.
And that's really with some really impressive speed, and it's cheaper than when you are actually using Oracle database in Oracle Cloud.
Yeah.
You have the big one, but you also have it way more expensive. The HeatWave is cheaper, but it has some really cool high availability features. It's the performance is awesome, way better than the open source version, right? So
yeah, and actually, if you have also cloud solution with other provider, they doing like these cooperations these days. So you have like multi-cloud solutions.
Interconnect, right? They call it.
So you have like resources probably like from, I would say, Azure, but HeatWave cluster hosted in OCI, but you can access it from the other cloud provider. And really, I got this feeling and idea that there will be much more resources going there. So I think there will be active development there for sure, because they are focusing more on also like big players, like in terms of performance, like HeatWave clusters performs really well, and it will be, I think, attractive for a lot of companies.
And you don't need all those expensive administrators for Postgres clusters, right? Because the HeatWave is a service which you just pay for being run in. And
I mean, you do have managed Postgres.
you do have?
There are, like, basically every cloud provides managed Postgres.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you get from Enterprise DB, there are companies behind it as well.
Ah, cool. So you are paying for this management, just someone else.
I know a little bit.
Yeah.
The same amount they would pay for managed MySQL and AWS.
I've seen it a few times in production. It's a really great database. The problem is that if you want to run it, you need really expensive people to actually keep it, performing.
I mean, the same could be said about MySQL.
It can, yeah. But
It's not a fair.
with Oracle, you are paying it in advance, and you know how much it will cost, right? With
I mean,
it will be
I
similar.
can start on AWS, MySQL, Postgres, and at certain scale, I'm gonna need somebody who understands them.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in Oracle, you're gonna need somebody who understands how to do it.
We have self-tuning in Oracle database in cloud.
I
So
mean,
if you have a really
that's
big cluster, I have saw a project which will be doing this self-tuning by AI. That looks really cool. It's we are all as a developers kind of skeptical about that, but there are some applications where it actually makes sense, and I think that's actually this administration stuff. I know you don't like to hear it because you like DevOps things, but
I love DevOps.
when it will be done by the AI, but this can be one of those applications, right? You won't have to have the people who understands.
It's a good opportunity for someone on Saturday.
Yes, it is. It is.
Do you also do any performance measurements or comparisons? We talk a lot about Mongo.
I have seen it, but I'm not sure if it was internal, external presentation.
I seen actually comparison like plain MySQL and MySQL HeatWave cluster, and it was a huge leverage. It was like for again large data set. I don't know how many millions like records. It was somewhere around like 6-7 times the leverage. It was another talk done by I forgot the name.
The German guy. Who came
Yeah,
to
the
Prague.
German
Yeah,
guy. I forgot. I'm so bad at names, but that's what was where my idea came from. Okay, so if this like performance gain is such big, it doesn't apply for like small businesses, because why? But for big businesses. So I think like those are the
numbers are good. We can say that for sure. Like the HeatWave is super great. That's a product which is fast and performant, and in comparison with other products, it looked good. Yeah, I don't think that was public. So any more questions? So maybe now we can somehow figure out who had the best question, right, for the prize. So maybe we can do the hands up for the ACID question. That was cool. What? Yeah, 3, 4, 5. And now the question for security. It was also nice. So how much? 1, 2, 3. Any more question? You had question, right? That was about the API, the number of limiting numbers, right? Any hands for limiting number?
I'm a supporter here.
So ACID is winning. It looks like Azul will have the book. Okay. So sadly this is about Helidon 3, so that's the old one. We didn't write the new one.
So it's so this one is throwaway.
This one is reactive, and there is a lot of ugly reactive code there. I have also some stickers if anyone wants Helidon. Yeah, I will let you know.
We can do it after.
So
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you everyone who was watching us online, and see you next time. Thank you guys for presenting, and it was great sessions.
Thank you.